what people think is really good right now. And, you know, there isn't kind of like a definitive one team, even though I guess the Japanese players think there's just one core that's good. A lot of the non-Japanese players have been running things that are entirely different, as you've seen.
There is absolutely no set core for players outside of Japan right now. And we are going to see a Pokemon that is kind of terrifying to see in team preview, and I was kind of expecting to see a little bit more of it, but it's the Gothitelle coming out from Zachary Kelly.
Really excited to see Gothitelle, and Raghav actually has a pretty fun Pokemon on his own end in the Gourgeist.
The Gourgeist. We've seen so much Gourgeist this tournament. A few players, Eduardo Acuna, who's also in the Day 2 Swiss, I think also has a record of 8-2, running that Gourgeist as well. Really performing well for these players.
So, really excited to see what Pokemon they bring out, but Gothitelle, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, being able to use that Shadow Tag to trap Pokemon in, gives you a lot of utility. And for me, the question I always have to ask is, when do you bring it? Because the thing about Gothitelle is it does fall pretty easily to a lot of these super powerful attacks, especially like Max Darkness from Tyranitar, Max Phantasm from Dragapult, and it's one of those Pokemon where you know, of course you get the trap in, but are you able to get it in for more than a turn? And then the other question is, are you using it to set up Trick Room? If so, what Pokemon are really going to take advantage of it? So we're going to go into team preview, and I love seeing the Gourgeist and the Gothitelle here.
Yeah, look at these teams. Zach is going to be running the Gothitelle, Tyranitar, Corviknight, Arcanine, Gastrodon, and Dragapult against Raghav, who's running Togekiss, Arcanine, Tyranitar, Excadrill, Milotic, and the Gourgeist. So Raghav does have that Sand Core, the Excadrill and Tyranitar with friend Togekiss, usually often paired to protect one or both of those Pokemon. But again, it's the Milotic and Gourgeist that Raghav is running that we've been seeing a lot of in this tournament.
Yeah, so for Zach's end, he has Corviknight, which is a Pokemon that we haven't seen too much of, but I think it actually would be really good in this matchup specifically. It has a phenomenal matchup against Tyranitar, Excadrill, and the Togekiss, and you can, you know, block those Intimidates and send them back towards Raghav. So that's a Pokemon I actually maybe expect to see here from Zachary's end. I think Gastrodon's a good pick. I think Dragapult's a good pick. Gothitelle, I would be maybe a little bit surprised to see, given that you're going up against both Tyranitar and Gourgeist. Gothitelle often will carry a Resist Berry for one of those, but obviously you can't cover both. But it looks like we're actually just going to see it immediately.
Yeah, Gothitelle opting to trap the Excadrill and Togekiss on turn 1 of game 1. Interesting choice there to lead with the Gothitelle alongside the Corviknight, which does have a pretty good matchup against these Pokemon, though.
Oh,
that makes it a little bit more complicated. Swords Dance boosting the attack of Excadrill, but Corviknight's just going to bulk up in the face of both of those Pokemon. Gothitelle, of course, making sure that Togekiss can't do anything because of the fake out there. So both players opting to boost. Raghav getting the more aggressive boost off there.
Yeah, the +2, and you know, no Dynamax from either ends, but that makes sense. And if you get a free Swords Dance off with the Excadrill, now you can Dynamax and start going for something like Max Steel Spike, which will do so much damage. Maybe even knock out Gothitelle if it's specially invested. Togekiss, you know, of course, can support that with a Helping Hand or just a Dazzling Gleam as well. So, yeah, I think, you know, Zachary bringing the Gothitelle, which I wasn't fully expecting to see. I can see why, you know, what the game plan was here. Basically, you just set up with Corviknight and win, but because it's Swords Dance Excadrill, it's a little bit more difficult to pull that off. I expect Excadrill to Dynamax here and just go for Max Steel Spike now into the Gothitelle, and for Togekiss to either go for some support. If it has Yawn here, you could potentially Yawn into the Corviknight, especially if you got that Babiri Berry, and that's an excellent way to shut it down. And I think, yeah, Excadrill definitely with one of Raghav's main win conditions, and you know, Zachary not switching in Arcanine for Intimidate means that you just are going to be able to do so much more damage.
Yeah, Zachary's entire game plan just got sort of flipped upside down. Instead of Zachary getting the big boost, it's Raghav who gets the big boost with the Swords Dance, and now Dynamaxed Excadrill. Zachary also going to Dynamax Corviknight, so both of these players have gotten their one boost off. Zachary with an attack boost and a defense boost. Raghav with 2 stages of attack boost, but Zachary also has the Helping Hand to boost the damage from Corviknight even further. That big Steel Spike is easily enough to pick up the KO there, but at least Gothitelle got the Helping Hand off.
Yeah, but the thing here is now with the defense boost on Togekiss, if it does have like a Babiri Berry, I would assume survive a Max Steel Spike, it's actually Max Airstream coming out. Let's see if this is enough to get the knock. I don't think so. Yeah, not with the defense boost then. If Togekiss has something like a yawn here, this would be absolutely a huge play for Raghav, and there's the yawn. Wow.
Big plays coming out from Raghav here in game 1. That yawn means that Corviknight, unless it switches out, sacrifices its 3 buffs and Dynamax, is going to be falling asleep at the end of next turn, which basically means that all of that Dynamax is going to be for naught.
Yeah, perfectly played by Raghav in the first 2 turns. And Gastron coming in here makes me wonder if Arcanine's even in the back on Zachary's end. You know, one of the reasons why Milotic is such a smart pick on Raghav's team is specifically to deter away those Intimidates. And we saw in the last matchup how good Intimidate can be against Tyranitar and Excadrill. And yeah, I mean, this Excadrill can just do so much damage and more importantly, give itself boost through Max Quake as well.
Protect comes out from both Togekiss and Gastrodon to limit the amount of damage that can come out. Corviknight just trying to get some Steel Spikes through the Protect and the Babiri Berry and the defense boost means that this Togekiss is going to take no damage at all from that Steel Spike.
Yeah, despite being a boosted Corviknight, just literally like
doesn't
10
look
damage.
so boosted to me.
No, not at all. And I mean, that's one of the downsides of Corviknight as a Pokemon, right? It typically doesn't do as much damage. And Gastrodon, you know, the upside is it does have a defense boost, but Max Quake will still do a fair amount. And I think another one now should just pick up the knockout.
Yeah.
Even if not, you're using relatively passive Pokemon in Gastrodon and Corviknight, which don't do very much damage. So I think Raghav came up with a really great lead, and the lack of Intimidate plus Gothitelle coming out, as we saw, was relatively passive. And okay. That makes this matchup a little bit more interesting.
All right, so not afraid of the yawn at all. Protect to make sure that Zachary is going to be able to get the full Dynamax. So one more turn of, you know, probably an Steel Spike boost defense for the Gastrodon. May be able to survive that Excadrill now.
You know, Corviknight theoretically could like 1v4 against Raghav's entire team.
Doesn't get it. Doesn't get the double Protect there. And yeah, it could theoretically, depending on what was brought in the back here.
That's a huge Lumberry.
Yeah.
And like, now because of the earlier speed boost as well, you get that defense boost on Gastrodon now before Excadrill moves, meaning you might be able to survive. So I think that Lumberry changes everything about this matchup.
Max Quake on the slot.
Are you kidding me? What a huge survival. Wow. So let's see, it's going to go for a recovery. Wow, heals back all that damage, and now, you know, Excadrill is no longer Dynamax, and you've got the defense boost on both of these Pokemon. So, I mean, Corviknight has gotten so many boosts now. It's at +1 speed.
+1 speed, +1 attack.
And +3 defense.
+3 defense.
And Arcanine comes out. I mean,
you don't...
The question now is, how does Raghav really deal with the Corviknight? This is why I was talking about going into this game, why I thought Corviknight would be really good, and I thought that Yawn was going to change everything, but the Lumberry just throws everything back into a twist. And, you know, Corviknight typically running these boosting attacks will have something like Body Press. And so then the question I have is, you know, maybe a Will-O-Wisp here from Arcanine can at least mitigate the Corviknight a little bit. But, you know, if this is like a Roost bulk upset with Body Press, you're going to be able to do so much damage. So I think if Arcanine does not have Will-O-Wisp right now, this Corviknight can really just do so much damage across the board. So, you know, the two questions I have here are, do you have the Will-O-Wisp on Arcanine? Does it connect? And then does the Corviknight have Body Press, or does it have maybe a more standard? I mean, we've seen Flying and Steel as well. So the question is, do you have Roost or Body Press as that last attack, basically?
Yeah. Corviknight shows the Brave Bird, which was that max Airstream, hits into the Protect as Excadrill fires off an Earthquake here. No longer gets the overwhelming power of the Max Quake. And thanks to those boosts, Gastrodon continues to survive, but doesn't go for another recover, just tries to get damage onto the Arcanine. Zachary probably rightly afraid of that Arcanine because it can hit Corviknight for super effective damage, but not getting anything there because of a good Protect. Yeah, that's a really, really excellent Protect there. Arcanine, a Pokemon that, you know, often even doesn't care. Oh my goodness. So much damage from the Brave Bird there, but able to hang on. But yeah, Arcanine, a Pokemon that often doesn't carry Protect because it's more support-oriented. And Will-O-Wisp, does connect. That's a huge, huge connection there. Will-O-Wisp now, we saw how much damage Corviknight was able to do with that Brave Bird. Cut that in half now. Excadrill's Iron Head just picks up the KO barely on that little tiny Gastrodon. Had very little health left. Just wanted to make sure covered any switches. So now Corviknight's burned, but it is still boosted. Hard to deal damage to the Corviknight, but now harder for Corviknight to deal damage back. Dragapult, though, has no problems dealing damage. Yeah, Dragapult, you know, probably one of the Pokemon that's better to bring out here for Zachary because it does the most damage, and you have the speed advantage as well. So
The big question I still have is, what is this Corviknight's last attack? If it's is it Roost or is it Body Press? If it's Roost, then it's going to be a lot more difficult to take care of it, but it means that at least it won't do very much damage against Excadrill. Now, if it's Body Press, it means you'll be doing more damage against Excadrill, but it means slowly away, you'll be able to whittle away at it. And the other question is also, what Fire-type attack does this Arcanine have? Some Arcanines typically, or will run something like Flamethrower or Heat Wave instead of that Flare Blitz, and so I also have to ask that. And then finally, the question is, what kind of Dragapult set is this? Is it a special variant that we've seen throughout the course of this tournament? Now that Excadrill, has taken... Oh, okay, Arcanine switches out here, and Tyranitar comes in, which will give Excadrill a speed boost, which is smart, so allows it to move before the Dragapult now.
Yeah, big Sandstream here from Tyranitar. One of the early combos of Sword and Shield is switching into Tyranitar. Just because you can now get your Excadrill to outspeed in one-hit KO that Dragapult. Iron Head coming out onto Excadrill deals no damage now because of the burn and because of Excadrill's resistance there. And it's just Corviknight. You said maybe Corviknight could 1v4 this team. You still believe?
Not anymore, because we saw the Iron Head from Corviknight. If there's no Body Press, then once the Corviknight is burnt, I don't think you can touch this Excadrill as well. So great play there by Raghav. By switching the Tyranitar, you get the speed boost instantly. It's still boosted with those attack increases from Swords Dance. And yeah, earlier Corviknight and Gastron were able to get these defense boosts, but the main thing is that Dragapult didn't get a single boost. It didn't Dynamax, and so it just falls instantly there. So we've actually seen that quite frequently throughout the course of this tournament, where players will bring Dragapult, will have it in the end game, but it doesn't do more than get one attack off, and it's often not a good trade-off there.
Yeah.
So just picking up a knockout there, and Excadrill going for a Rock Slide now. So yeah, just even with the defense boost, still able to do some sizable damage.
That's reasonable damage.
Yeah. But you have to attack through flinches now, and of course Excadrill could also just go through multiple Sword Stances of its own, so we should see Raghav take this first game.
All right, it may take a little bit, but that is likely where we're headed here. Crunches and Rock Slides most likely going to be what Raghav continues to use here, but Corviknight can continue to bulk up. It can potentially Roost, most likely, if it did not show the Body Press, but that damage adds up pretty quick.
Yeah, and Corviknight actually reveals the Roost. I think in this position, Zachary, I don't know, it might have been better to just consider forfeiting here.
Yeah.
I guess theoretically, right now, Corviknight could still pull it off, but you also have to play against Timer, and I think, now Raghav has full knowledge of your moveset. You're burnt, so, Brave Bird and Iron Head don't do very much, so Excadrill could consider maybe going for, another 2 Swords Dances while Tyranitar continues crunching.
Yeah, I mean, Corviknight, I guess, could play towards Timer, but what is the Timer out here? There are still 3 Pokemon left on Raghav's side.
Yeah, the thing is that you need to do enough damage, and so, Timer is more of a win condition for Raghav than it is for Zachary, but the thing is Raghav doesn't even really need to play towards the Timer because he has all the damage right now. So, yeah, I think in this case, it actually might have been worthwhile to forfeit just so you don't reveal that last attack on the Corviknight. And now, I mean, the other thing that's kind of interesting is, once Sand expires, Corviknight outspeeds the Excadrill because of that speed boost. So you can actually go for, an Earthquake if you're predicting a Roost. So I think, this is just going to be a long, drawn-out ending, but I don't see Raghav losing this game because he's got the Sword Stance on Excadrill. Without Sword Stance, I think things could play out differently.
Yeah, without Sword Dance, potential for Zachary to get... There's also crits.
Yeah. That's one approach.
Thank you, critical hits.
Yeah. I mean, I think in that position, it's fine to just go for damage. I mean, if you get a single flinch there with the Iron Head as well, then you can't Roost anymore. You can just Iron Head Flare Blitz, and even with those defense boosts, probably still pick up the knockout there. So that was a really exciting first game. I think a lot of big reveals there that now players have more information of. Zachary knows he cannot play as passive as he did in that last game, and that's why I was surprised to see Gothitelle come out in the first place, because Gothitelle is a Pokemon that likes to take advantage of Pokemon that are a little bit more passive, and I think that lead actually would have worked out really, really nicely if Excadrill doesn't have Sword Stance.
It was anything but Sword Stance.
Exactly.
Excadrill,
but because it is Sword Stance, you cannot just go with that anymore. You also know that there's the Yawn on Togekiss. You know there's Will-O-Wisp, so Corviknight's life is basically a little bit more difficult. So I think Zachary has to go back to the drawing board because Dragapult also just did absolutely nothing.
Yeah. But also, on the other hand there, Raghav now knows that Corviknight is going to be that Lumberry variant. So we saw in that game that he was really relying on the Yawn to take out that Corviknight at first. And, when that failed, when the Lumberry cured the sleep, put him in kind of a tight spot there until he was able to get the Arcanine in and get the Will-O-Wisp off.
Yeah, so I think the tough thing about this matchup for Zachary is the speed control is, I would say, a little bit better on Raghav's end, where you have, the opportunity to just outspeed everything by bringing in Tyranitar next to Excadrill. So, like, the only way to really deny that is maybe setting up Trick Room, but that is kind of difficult to do. And, I mean, maybe that's the approach Zachary goes for. The other thing, however, is that he doesn't have, like, redirection on this team. There's no Togekiss, there's no NDD or anything. So, a little bit more difficult for Gothitelle to set up Trick Room because it's so easily, can be targeted. But
Yeah, the only fake out support is Gothitelle itself.
exactly. But, you could theoretically go with the same lead again, and instead of clicking fake out this time on turn 1, just go for a Trick Room immediately, because if Excadrill chooses to Swords Dance, then at least Togekiss isn't knocking out the Gothitelle. But the thing about that is, even under Trick Room, like, you might be moving before this Excadrill, but with the lack of body press on the Corviknight, you're still not doing very much damage. And so Excadrill, once boosted, can really just sweep through the entire team. So Arcanine is a potential answer on Zachary's end. I think maybe Dynamaxing Gastrodon could be an approach as well. Dynamaxing Dragapult, maybe knocking out the Togekiss earlier could also work, but I think Raghav just setting up Swords Dance gives him such a big advantage. I think Zachary might have to be forced to bring the Arcanine solely for that Intimidate, despite Milotic. And I love the adjustment by Raghav here, maybe predicting the Arcanine.
Yeah, Raghav has the Milotic
And
the Togekiss. Gets the call.
Oh, what a nice adjustment by Raghav. Wow.
Yeah, Raghav has the Milotic and Togekiss trapped with the Gothitelle, but
There's the competitive.
that's a good thing for the Milotic. The Milotic is happy, they're not trapped in with the Gothitelle. The Gothitelle and Arcanine are trapped in there with it.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a huge adjustment, I think, by both players. And, man, these players are making a move so fast. I'm sure it's Gastrodon coming in here, and there it is, yeah. So, Zachary looks like he is actually going to go with that Trick Room route, which can definitely respect.
Togekiss just going to follow me any damage away from the Milotic, which goes for the Coil. So, we have been seeing a little bit of this Coil Milotic throughout the course of the tournament, running Hypnosis and getting those that defense boost to make it a little bit bulkier. Knows that there's the threat of the Gastrodon switch in, so not going for any attacks, just going to go Coil up.
Yeah, so I like the Gastrodon switch in there. I mean, Arcanine's doing nothing against both of these Pokemon. Gastrodon can potentially eat up a water type attack as well. So this is kind of interesting where it's like, do you Dynamax the Milotic? Because then Max Geyser, at least you can Muddy Water here if you have it.
Yeah.
But I think Milotic might also be content just clicking Hypnosis or just Coil again to guarantee the 100% accurate Hypnosis. And you can spread double sleep now with Yawn and Hypnosis.
I think if you're Raghav here, you're happy to just spread Milotic's Hypnosis or Togekiss's Yawn. There's not a lot of damage coming out from the Gothitelle and the Gastrodon, and you can just stall out these turns of Trick Room.
Yeah, and the other awkward thing is, like, you could Dynamax Gastrodon, but then what are you using, right? Max Quake into Milotic? Well, Togekiss can just redirect that away with the Follow Me. There's the threat of double sleep, so it's like, do you even Dynamax anything right now? Because something will just be put to sleep, especially if Milotic is able to connect with that Hypnosis. So, despite this, being kind of a passive lead with Togekiss and Milotic, that competitive boost, plus the fact that there's not much damage coming out from Zachary right now, puts Raghav in actually what I think is a really good position, even though Trick Room is up.
Corviknight is the switch in for Gothitelle. Raghav just continuing to play safe, protects with Togekiss, avoids the Scald, and Hypnosis lands on Gastrodon. So Sleepy Slug now on the field for Zachary. And 2 more turns of Trick Room, and Zachary hasn't gotten anything done with it.
No, and I have to wonder if Excadrill's still in the back on Raghav's end, because if so, he doesn't even need to, just attack with Milotic. He basically spreads sleep to everything, bring out that Excadrill, get his Swords Dance off, and then maybe just sweep with Dynamax Excadrill. And yeah, Raghav has double sleep right now, and Zachary just has no way around it. The one way is Lumberry Corviknight right now, so I think he's at least gotten Corviknight in a good position where you can get a bunch of setup now.
Yeah, but you could just pop the Lumberry with a Hypnosis
That's
here
true,
and let
exactly.
the Yawn come
and,
into play.
but it actually dodges it. I think that
Not
was
enough coils.
Yeah, I think that's maybe it would have been more optimal for Raghav to just go for the double coil to guarantee these 100% accurate Hypnosises, but instead, not 100% accurate. That's a really big dodge, I think. I mean, if Corviknight falls asleep there, it just falls asleep again the next turn from the Yawn, and then
it still could.
It's just such an awkward position, I feel like, for Zachary, where it's like, yeah, you got Corviknight out, but you have to deal with double sleep, and this is actually, I think, the first time I've seen a team run double sleep inducing attacks, and you can see how deadly it can be right now, especially against the more passive, kind of bulky team that Zachary's brought.
Yeah, absolutely, and Gothitelle switches back in to try and trap the Milotic and Togekiss. I think Zachary likes having Corviknight alongside Gothitelle against these Pokemon. Gonna go ahead and Dynamax as well, try to get off some damage before falling asleep.
And I think if there's anything the last game showed us, it's like maybe your approach is to just keep boosting up with Corviknight. And the question is, then you still have to knock out the Arcanine, but that's what the Gastrodon is here for. I like the adjustment by Zachary. And there is a fake out, so going to block potential
Onto
yawn
the
there.
Togekiss, though.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And an Airstream coming out from the Corviknight will connect as well and get those speed boosts for when Trick Room is over. So starting to get those boosts again that we were seeing, but this competitive boosted Muddy Water deals a good amount of damage to Gothitelle, deals a little bit to Corviknight, will fall asleep to the original Yawn and wake up to the Lumberry.
Yeah, so because Milotic has not gone for that second coil, its Hypnosis is once again aren't 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And you've gotten rid of the Lumberry now, and you've got so much status so you can burn it, but that's a big speed boost there, honestly. It allows the Corviknight to, just outspeed everything now, bar the Excadrill under Sand. And we saw the helping hand from Gothitelle as well. And Corviknight was able to get that bulk up, so I wonder how much like a helping hand Max Airstream will do against Milotic in maybe the last turn of Dynamax. But the big question here is basically, will Hypnosis be able to connect onto Corviknight if that's what Raghav's going for, which I think is probably his best play.
All right, well, the Airstream will pick up the KO onto Togekiss and give Corviknight another speed boost. But yeah, it all comes down to this Hypnosis from the Milotic. Or maybe just damage and bring in the Arcanine now that there's a switch-in opportunity. But Psychic deals a little bit to the Milotic.
Oh,
Hypnosis
misses again! Wow. I think that's just why.
Need the second coil.
Yeah, this is why I would have liked to see Raghav just go for coil earlier on when it was such a passive, combination. Now you're actually staring down a Corviknight that's pretty boosted up, has another turn of Dynamax, and so I think, if you miss there, you can probably just bring an Excadrill and just click Swords Dance like once or twice and probably just win the game. But the double miss there makes this game a lot more interesting.
All right, Arcanine switches in, so we know that Arcanine has the ability to Will-O-Wisp this Corviknight, which since the Hypnosis did not hit, Will-O-Wisp has the opportunity to burn here. Corviknight at +1 attack and +2 speed, easily able to get off an attack first.
Yeah, the thing is here, like, you could maybe go for, like, Helping Hand and Max Airstream to get a knockout on either of these two Pokemon. I'm not sure if it would knock out Milotic. We'll have to see what the calc is there. And yeah, Arcanine could protect here, but given that Raghav revealed that protect in the last game, maybe Zachary predicts this and targets the Milotic. Let's see who this Airstream goes into. Oh, it is Milotic, and does it get the knockout? Oh, so close.
That one coil doing so much work there, raising the defense of Milotic so it survives with just a few hit points. Now,
wow, Hypnosis
finally hits. So
yeah,
Corviknight now has 3 speed. If there were a situation where, I guess there's not. There's only 4 Pokemon allowed to be brought. So the speed doesn't really matter here, but the sleep definitely does.
I think you can see the setup Raghav's going for. He hasn't Dynamax yet, and I'm confident that the last one is going to be Excadrill on his end. And so the goal is basically you get Excadrill in, you get a Swords Dance off, and then Dynamax and just one-hit KO everything, basically. So Corviknight is put to sleep now. Gothitelle might be able to get the knockout here onto Milotic, and what is awkward for Raghav is that he can't actually switch out because of the Shadow Tag.
Yeah, but Shadow Tag doing a lot of work to keep that Milotic trapped in here.
Yeah. But Psychic will be able to give Raghav that free switch into the Excadrill, so if it is Excadrill, presumably it is, then you can get a Swords Dance off and then just go from there. And, ooh, we actually see the Flamethrower reveal there. That's actually a really big deal as well because it means that, unlike Flare Blitz, which does less damage with each bulk up and with each defense boost, Flamethrower will consistently do that damage throughout the course. So it's actually Tyranitar's the last one, though, not Excadrill. Wow.
Okay, well, that makes things a little bit riskier here for Raghav. The Tyranitar not as much of an offensive threat as that Excadrill might have been.
Yeah, although I think it's actually still a great pick here by Raghav. I actually really like the adjustments he brought. Like, I thought Excadrill made a lot of sense to be as his 4th Pokemon, but, probably wanted to play around the Intimidate that would come out in the slower mode from Zachary's end. Now he can Dynamax with the Tyranitar and probably just Max Darkness to KO everything because there isn't really any resists on Zachary's end.
All right, but does allow Zachary to swap in Arcanine now to get Intimidates off onto that Tyranitar. Much more valuable Intimidates onto that Tyranitar than onto the Excadrill, which could Swords Dance them away.
Exactly.
And the Dynamax coming out from Tyranitar means that Raghav is going to need to start picking up some KOs because despite how passive Zachary has been, he has 2 KOs on the board and all 4 of his Pokemon are still up and kicking.
Yeah, I think the main thing here is, though, that Raghav's managed and put himself into a really good board position. As, you have, 2 Pokemon that are asleep in Corviknight. Corviknight's going down, and Gastrodon, is asleep, and it's not going to be able to do that much damage, especially with the threat of Snarl. Gothitelle is like a really passive Pokemon as well. And what's Arcanine going to do in terms of damage here? I think like Raghav could have won this game with Tyranitar or Excadrill as his last one, and because of that really great lead, like Milotic got the competitive boost, but it was a nice decision on Raghav's end to not Dynamax and still play defensively with it, because the Dynamax Milotic is just going to lose to Gastrodon, which we obviously saw immediately. So great awareness by Raghav. I love the adjustments from him in this game too, and despite the Hypnosis misses, I think like Zachary's team is just so passive where Raghav can really take advantage of that. And you know, now you've got Gastrodon and Arcanine out, you can maybe go for a Will-O-Wisp onto Tyranitar, try to wake up with Gastrodon as soon as you can, but it's just really tough here. Will-O-Wisp is going to be able to connect. So, I mean, if there's a Pokemon that can maybe 2v1, I guess it's Gastrodon, but you still have to deal with Snarls from the opposing side, and there's a Snarl coming out.
Yeah, Arcanine Snarls means that Gastrodon's not going to be able to deal a lot of damage, although Zachary does still have Gothitelle in the back up to potentially reset those special attack drops if they ever get too bad. Presuming that Arcanine can survive this Rock Fall through an Intimidate and a Burn, it cannot.
It can't, yeah, and shows you how strong Dynamax Tyranitar can be, and yeah, now you're stuck with Gothitelle and Gastrodon. Like, I feel like maybe the only way to really win this is you need to maybe, survive with Arcanine there. You need to get a critical hit, like wake up early with Gastrodon, get a critical hit, Earth Power. But Raghav just had so much more offense in this game, and like I like the Trick Room attempt by Zachary, but the main thing here is that Raghav had so much status, and either Sleep or Burn is just so good against Corviknight because Corviknight didn't have Body Press and made it significantly more difficult to even touch the Excadrill.
Yeah, the Lumberry is great, but it only works on one status per game, and Raghav just had too many opportunities to spread more status. Fake outs the Arcanine. Gothitelle actually surviving that Max Darkness from the Tyranitar through the Intimidate and through the Burn.
Okay.
Gastrodon wakes up, so may have the opportunity to make something happen here with an Earth Power.
Oh, no.
Not enough damage. Activates the berry for Arcanine. Actually, let's see if Arcanine gets confused this time.
It's the Citrus Berry, so looks like Raghav's good this time around. But, you know, that is a big wake-up here. Gastrodon could maybe 2v1 now, actually, because you've got the Burnt Tyranitar and it's intimidated. Comes down to what this Gastrodon set is. Do you have Recover? I mean, I think Arcanine here just clicks Snarl. That knocks out the Godstone, gets another special attack drop on Gastrodon. The thing is also, you know, what item do you have on Tyranitar? If it is Weakness Policy, you might be forced to activate the Weakness Policy, although Gastrodon could maybe just stall this out with Recover and Protect. So, yeah, this actually isn't over by any means, and that's why I thought, like, Excadrill made a little bit more sense on Raghav's end, because you get a Sword Stance off and you can just sweep through. And here's Helping Hand. Yeah, Helping Hand Earth Power might knock out the Arcanine even through another Snarl. Oh, but
the Protect.
Great Protect there by Raghav.
Raghav preserving his Pokemon. We have already seen the Recover from Gastrodon, so know that it can last for a long time here. Crunch just picking up the KO on Gothitelle for good measure. Make sure there are no more Helping Hands. Earth Power into the Protect, and at this point, Zachary needs to be getting damage off every turn, and that's not enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good play from both players' end. You actually notice that Raghav chose to target the Gothitelle there, and that specifically is because you don't want Trick Room to be set up, and you don't want to risk missing Snarl. So that was the safest play from Raghav's end to guarantee the knockout into Gothitelle and ensure that Arcanine survives for another turn. So now you probably can click Snarl. You could actually consider Will-O-Wisp on Arcanine for just the residual damage every turn as well. So we'll see which option he opts into. I am curious if another Earth Power from -2 Gastrodon plus Sand will be enough to knock out the Arcanine. Sand is going to end after this turn as well. So this is going to be close because, like you said, we saw the Recover on Gastrodon, and Gastrodon actually really could 2v1 in this position. And even if there is Weakness Policy on Tyranitar, I mean, it is Burnt as well and intimidated. So even if you activate the Weakness Policy, it's not the end of the world. But here's Snarl, and it does connect. That's a huge, huge connection. That's just a lot of damage, actually.
Yeah, a surprising amount of damage from a Snarl onto that Gastrodon. Single target this time, so Tyranitar goes for the Crunch. Deals much less damage, but gets a defense drop. Huge defense drop there onto the Gastrodon. Earth Power now connecting to Arcanine.
Is it enough?
Snarls.
Oh, it is.
Picks up the KO. Now Gastrodon's facing down Tyranitar. Huge defense drop there for Raghav.
Yeah, the thing is here, though, you could probably just cycle through with Recover and Protect, but then the question is,
Tyranitar's burned. It's taking damage every turn.
It is, and we don't know how much time is left yet, but I don't think we've seen a notification of, like, the last 3 minutes left, so there's still a couple of turns, so I think right now Rockslide going for the flinch. I like that because maybe after a flinch, a Crunch will get the KO.
Oh.
Does Gastrodon flinch? Oh, it flinches! Oh, my goodness.
75 hit points left on Gastrodon.
Will
with the
Crunch-
defense drop and the crunch. Gonna protect this time.
Oh my goodness. I think I would have liked to see Protect last turn. Not that it really makes much of a difference just because it's the first opportunity you have to
Get
protect.
an extra tick of burn.
Exactly, yeah. So wow, I mean, a big question here is do you get the KO with Crunch after that defense drop? Once again, this is Burnt Tyranitar that was intimidated as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so close. I want to say it's gonna survive, but let's see.
Oh, the jaws.
Crunch
calm
into
down on
Gastrodon. Oh, it gets
no,
it. Oh, it's a
critical
crit.
hit.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Everything going right there at the end for Raghav to break through Gastrodon. Take that at a 2-0 set. That was so close.
Oh, wow. I felt like that was in Zachary's hands. He actually stalled it out enough where, and because it wasn't that Swords Dance X girl in the back for Raghav, found that win condition. I think Zachary played it really well to see, okay, how do I win despite things being pretty passive? And it was like, okay, the way to win is stall out the Dynamax and Tyranitar. I get the burn off, get the Intimidate. And I think he did almost everything